Welcome to another GM Tips, and GM Rick here. I'm going to turn down the volume a little bit. Got some background stuff on for mini GM. So I'm going to do a second dive today. I did my one dive on dragons. So my next topic is going to be on using vampires and vampire-based campaigns as your campaign. And of course, you know, for those of you who play Dungeons and Dragons, the Curse of Strahd and any of the Strahd ones are really big, iconic adventures when it comes to D&D. Strahd is their version, basically, of Count Dracula. He's a little bit more interesting and malevolent than a Count Dracula. If you were to pick the type of vampire, he's a Moroi, what they call a Moroi vampire. And Morois are a bit of the charmers. They're the handsome or beautiful-looking vampires that drink blood more for the fun of it than they are ravenous beasts like the Nosferatu. Vampires in general. There are so many legends and so many different types. Jiangshi, and then there also is the Vitalia, and Vitala. There are several different types of vampire stereotypes that are written out there, and you see different movies. Like, one of the things that came up to me was a recent sci-fi show, Van Helsing. It's the new Van Helsing with Vanessa Van Helsing. And she is a bit of a modern apocalyptic savior because the vampirism virus turns people feral. It's almost like a zombie adventure with vampires, where the vampires are the feral ones going nuttier than a fruitcake and feeding on everybody. And you've got the old vampires, of course, the old cast, which I would call either a Nosferatu or a Moroi. I think I would liken it as they are the Morois and the offspring are the Nosferatu. And they are the more feral, nasty, ravenous, decaying creatures that run around that world. And she has the blood that can turn them back. It's kind of an interesting little deal. So in looking at that, I guess it depends on how you want to design your vampire and your campaign. Vampires can be very romantic, kind of like your True Blood or your what's your one? I'm trying to think of the one with and we just got done watching them. My fiance loves them. You probably know the series. It's a cutesy little series with the characters in there based in Seattle. 2, you can go to 30 Days of Night, which are the Nosferatus. Then there's the other ones that you see out of the Count Dracula movies. So you have a lot of genres. You can do the ones that are daywalkers, like that one, or ones out of Blade. They're all different looks and peaks and people's version of vampires. And the cool thing about the fantasy RPG gaming things is that both Paizo and Dungeons and Dragons, as well as 13th Age and Dungeon World, all have their takes on the different types of vampires. The sad thing is vampires are often played as minor baddies. I mean, they're baddies, but no one fears them. And there's a reason for that. I think we as GMs and DMs get burned out on all these different genres and stereotypes and things, and we feel like everybody knows vampires, that we're afraid to take it back to the very frightening roots of what they are. They are the living dead, and not just the living dead. They're not like zombies. They are intelligent, very intelligent. They are predators. They look at any type of living creature as cattle, little prey, to be hunted. And the more elusive the prey is, the more fun it is for the vampire. Catching a prey that's easy to catch and run down, not a big deal. If it has no fight or puts up no fight, then it's okay. It's just, it would be almost like sheep being led to slaughter. The one thing I love, again, and I go to Paizo Publishing, but and the Curse of Strahd, mind you, Wizards of the Coast also went into this, and they also did it in 3.5. The different types of vampires, and why, and the half-bloods, the Damphir, and what are they, and how do you make them significant? And I love this. Even if you don't play Pathfinder, do yourself a favor. Spend the $10 or the $7 on the PDF and get the Blood of Night. The reason I say that is it gives you various spins on the vampires. So, the 4 types that they focus on are these 4. The Jiangshi, the Moroi, the Nosferatu, and the Vitala. Each of them are different, and I love how they term them. The Jiangshi, the Asian vampires, the vengeful seeker of signs, the Nosferatu, the eternally cursed ancients. They're the decaying, very feral vampires that have a sickly, that you remember the 1930s classic with Bela Lugosi as the Nosferatu. It was scary. It gave you a very different look at a vampire than the romantic style. The Moroi, the seductive lords of blood, they are the seductors and seductresses. The Vitala, the intellect-siphoning undead masterminds. You see how that description alone just kind of sets a wow factor to it. And we forget this. They talk about the spawn of these different types. And what are they like? They talk about the different 4 Damphir types. The Rushis, which are the Damphir of the Jiangshi. The Ancient Born, which are the Nosferatu ones. The Spetokers, which are the Moroi-born Damphirs. And the Ajibachanas, which are the, the Wudrani, or the Southern Asian vampires. They have it's almost a Persian type of cast on it. And they're so different on each of these. And I love the pictures like this. That sets the tone that these are not these cutesy vampires that run around. They talk about the creation. They have specific articles on each one. How are they different? Well, the desires, for instance, of a Jiangshi are very different than the desires of a Vitala or a Moroi. The desire of the Jiangshi is so strong as it's to bring it back from the dead cannot be easily shaken. While the Jiangshis are not directly compelled to seek a resolution for their desires, science and importance remain the primary focus of most of their kind. This obsession does not prevent involvement of other schemes and plots. However, it is likely that in the course of any endeavor, a Jiangshi encounters many signs that confirms it has chosen. So they are still the believers. They still hold on to the mysticism that they must see the signs and portents that lead them a certain direction, to act a certain way, to maybe act out against someone in a certain way. They are the mystical, occult vampires. Very different than just the blood-driven Nosferatu, which are driven by hunger, just a carnal hunger for life. Which they say that. The Moroi are careful to gauge their enemies from a distance. The slayers often find their most trusted tactics carefully mitigated by an informed foe. They are not a driven feral creature. They are the masterminds. They weave the webs of deception and destruction. They counter the slayer at each turn because they're a step ahead. That's how we need to play the Moroi. These more handsome and beautiful undead that everybody goes, I want to become a vampire by one of them. Oh, no, you don't. There is a nefarious plot afoot, and it is almost like your Moriarty of the vampire world. They are the Moriarties. That's the best way to put them. So they are the masterminds. When you play them, don't play them as I'm going to suck your blood. That is not how they act. Or blah, 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 from Hotel Transylvania. Not that way. They are in the background. You do not see them until they are ready to be seen. And even then, you are fortunate if you get any crack at harming them. They are long-lived for a reason. They don't run and rush into battle. They will send their minions 1,000-fold over before they engage an enemy. And they will weaken the enemy before they engage them. And then their fearsome might is shown by their power and their strength and their charisma and their charming, disarming way. You've got to play these vampires. I mean, folks, I don't do enough myself. You have to play them with power. When I play the vampire that is a key character that helps the party in carrying crown and that adventure path, the Count in there, I played him as the 3,000-year-old vampire he is. He is a tactician. When the party comes in and meets him, they're thinking, oh, great, well, we'll just do this quest and come back and slay him. Oh, but you won't. Because he's surrounded by a council of 15 strong, powerful vampire lords. Now, how are you going to defeat him? Now, they don't flesh it out in the adventure that way. I flesh it out that way. Because that is how a vampire of that caliber would be. He was a former general in an army of an undead lich. Do you really think he would strike out on his own in a city like the capital and not have a powerful set of turned or originals around him? Let's rethink that one, players. And that's the way you need to play these vampires. Strahd needs to be a horror show. He really does, and a smart horror show. And he does not need to be easily defeated. He needs to be constantly throwing minions of power at the party and just taking chinks out of their armor. That is how these tactician vampires would act. They're not going to be easily goaded into battle. They're not going to let somebody sit there and poke at their ego and get them to fight. Come on. They've lived for thousands of years for a reason. Because they're not easy to kill. Nor would they make themselves easy to kill. So don't make them easy to kill by your party. Make it a real, take them to the ragged, hairy edge before they have a shot at even harming the vampire. So, another one. The Nosferatu. The Nosferatu are, I love this picture. That is so Nosferatu female lord. They are ugly. They are decaying. They smell of death and decay and rot. The secrets of them, the power of the Nosferatu lies in their scope of the special abilities it enjoys. What are those abilities? Well, let's see. Physically and mentally powerful. They are just the hulking destructors. Usually, Moroi surround themselves with Nosferatu. They tolerate them because of their sheer, just physical power. They have no trouble crushing an opponent's body and mind. They are a domineering style. Able to transform the swarms of vermin or scale whole buildings with incredible ease, Nosferatu are the masters of their environment, while their bestial senses and telepathy allow them to operate in extreme efficiency in total silence and darkness. So they communicate with one another telepathically, so the party won't know where they are. They don't say things out loud. They have a sense to them. They are the predators. They are the wolves. They are the hungry pack that are cunning and yet confident. They are strong beyond recognition. So where a party might be able to defeat a Moroi by physical one-on-one, not so with a Nosferatu. The Nosferatu are much stronger and can literally lift a player character off the ground and crush its windpipe in a single maneuver. You need to play them with that feral cunning. They are the hunters. Unlike the Moroi, who are the charmers, they are the feral hunters and cocky. If you ever want to read about these type of vampires, go into the Dresden Files. Love the Dresden Files. They are the Black Court. The Moroi are the white, or actually not the white court, the red court. And then the Vitala and Jiangxi are the white court. You want to know what each type is like? There you go, right there. Right there are your different ones. And I love how James Butcher just characterizes that. The Black Court is so friggin' powerful and just full of death. The Red Court is so cunning and powerful because they've lived longer and built their empire slowly out of charm and disarmament. Now, finally, and we'll hit the last one, the Vitalis. I love this picture, of the Vital, because that really characterizes a Vital. Okay? What are they? The Vitala are driven by the desire to experience life. They love life. That's the White Court out of Dresden File. They want to feel the lust and the pleasure and the living embodiment. Not only its short mortal life, but those of their victims. It feeds and feels by siphoning a victim's prana, consciousness, psyche, or life force. That is exactly what the White Court is. They're not interested in your blood. They could care less about your blood. They care about your feelings and thoughts and very essence and aura and your soul. They are the soul siphoners. They're the ones that just eke away a little bit at your life force. So when they play against the players, you've got them just sucking away at the very living being of them. So the players begin to feel this dread or this euphoria that is beyond anything. And they get this almost like a carnal desire for their feelings and emotions. This is a Vitala. This is what they are. This is their very essence of how they feed themselves. So when you play them, they're going to hide in the background. They're going to put the players in situations where they can experience life to the fullest and then siphon that off for their effervescent life drink. That is them. It's like bottling the emotions and sucking it in. So when you play these types, play them this way. Don't do them in a kind of a way that, okay, they're going to go suck blood. No. That is a last resort for them. They do not care about the blood. They do its turn, but they don't do it otherwise. They are not about that. The memories stolen by draining prana become an unorganized jumble in the Vitala's mind. Much like a dragon's lair is coins from many realms heaped in piles. For most Vitala, this jumble of unconnected secrets is used only for nourishment. A rare few find that they change in fundamental way by the absorption of these type of things. Your thoughts, memories, experiences, great emotional things are their treasured choice bonbons that they eat. This is what these things do. So now you're getting a picture of how different vampirism is. We all think of the vampires like the Moroi or the Nosferatu, but we forget the Jiangshi and the Vitala, who are equally, as if not more, just unnerving. And how you take them out is so different. Their necrology is different. Their whole being and embodiment is different. So when you play these things, do yourself a favor. Get to know and get in the head of these things. And I'm going to say this as a GM totally. When you play your baddies, you should be them to a certain level. I'm not saying to become a serial killer or whatever. No, don't do this. I'm not asking you to jump into that role. But somewhat you have to step into the persona, because otherwise you don't make it real for the players. You don't make it this just cliffhanging excitement moment. Every major baddie in your campaigns, from vampires to werewolves to liches to dragons to all these other creatures, should be an experience like no other for your players. It should be so memorable because you pour this into them, but that takes you being a little bit cognizant of them. So keep that in mind when you do that. And you see my passion for this? I have many passions in life, but this is a passion as a GM, that I make each experience for my players memorable. Like when they were battling the dragons, they were hanging literally, the dragon riders were literally hanging off of the towers of the keep they're defending. So the players are literally fighting for their very existence. I mean, none of them died, but it was one of those just pulse racing kind of holy crap, we're in the middle of it type of moment. And again, that's where you take the players to those levels of just a high, and then boom, they win. And it's memorable. And they go, wow, I loved it, I want to do it again. And that's where your vampires should be. Your vampires should draw them to go, I want to get my hands on them. Where are they? I'm going to run after them. Wait a minute. Where did they go? Why are they hiding? Come on out. Face me. Face me. Face me. Nope. Little ticks, little things, little prods. You are constantly leading them down a primrose path of mayhem and destruction to the point of where they just want to scream. And then the vampire disappears. And they get a couple minions. And the minions are tough too, but they're not the mastermind that one lord or lordess is. No, that lordess, she is so just unnerving, that female Nosferatu. She just leaves a wake of destruction, and yet all they get are her leftover just changelings that eke at them and just tear at them, but they can't find her, and it just drives them crazier than a loon. And I love it. And then you've accomplished it. When you run the vampire, do not make it easy. Do not make the plot linear. Do not make things all fall in line so easily. Twist them and turn them in a maze of deception. Each of these are masterminds. These women vampires, the men vampires, it's not about oozing sex appeal unless that gets them something. If you're going to throw out the sexy vampire, then have a very Black Widow destructive path. They use it as a tool because they know they can ensnare anything with that tool. And that's the way you play them. And these are the ways that you embrace these monsters. Because if you don't, you're going to leave things on the table and you're going to go, oh, what did I do? And this book talks about that. That's one of the most refreshing things when I read it. Vampire transformations, I love it. Whether bursting the shrouds of translucent mist or springing into a wolf form, vampires possess a multitude of powerful abilities that let them change into their shapes to escape. So when they transform, think of Underworld and all these other things where they go to these things. When they talk about the hunger is beautiful. I love the hunger. Whether it is blood hunger or emotion hunger, or whatever that hunger is, they get bonuses from feeding when they get to feed. Otherwise, it's just crazy nuts. I love that they give ones on Galarian. So if you're using the Galarian setting that I went through with you, they have notable vampires. The one that I took the players against was Ramoska Archimenos, maybe. And then also I took them against. I'm not going to let you know who the count is in that one because it's too much giveaway. They even have spells for them, as it should be. They should have special spells devoted just to them because they're long-lived. They've learned how to manipulate magic. So this 24 minutes, I hope I've given you a refreshing view of vampires. You need to treat them in a very different way as a GM. And I'm saying this right now. Because if you do not, you are not doing justice to these type of creatures. The same way with the wares. I'll go through the wares someday, the blood of the moon. And it's the same way. A werewolf shouldn't be this, oh yeah, it's a werewolf, get the silver out. Oh, it's a vampire, get the stake out. Get the holy water, get the cross. Cut it out. They are long-lived for a reason. They've defeated many, many powerful clerics for a reason. Treat them that way. Make your players rue the day that they ever went after one of these. You're not there to kill them, but you're there to make their life a real fun thing. Thanks again, Rick M, the GM. Rick M, so it's RICMOH45 @gmail. If you got comments, or leave me comments up on there on my YouTube. Thanks again, and we'll talk to you soon.